Hey folks, Machinery Pete here. I am just up the road from Rochester, Minnesota, where I live. I'm in Pine Island, Minnesota, right off Highway 52. And I got a real treat for you. Today we're going to meet Randy and Terry Van Wy. And I met Randy at an auction, I think last fall, down by south of Dexter, Minnesota. That sale where those two Steigers sold for record prices. And Randy got telling me about his collection of international Gold Demonstrator tractors. Complete collection. So we are gonna hop into their facility here and see what we can see. And this is Randy Van Wy and his wife Terry. Guys, thanks for having me out today.
Hello, Greg. Welcome. Thank you for being here.
And folks, I gotta tell you, if you've never been to Pine Island, it's a great community. What is the summer festival here in town, Randy? Is it
The Cheese Fest. It's
Cheese
usually
Fest.
the second weekend of June. First
Okay.
or second weekend of June. Yeah.
It's worth driving for the Cheese Fest, folks, I tell you. But yeah, well, thanks again, Randy. I'm so glad we got to meet at that auction. And you didn't buy either of those Steigers that day,
No,
did you?
we didn't get them.
Were you bidding on them?
No.
Okay. Your connection is the Gold Demonstrators.
Yes.
Okay. And we're gonna have a look at those folks. But I'm telling you, this the Van Wys here are very committed. Now on the table, and we're gonna learn a little bit about the history of the Gold Demonstrator. Now this is actually your pickup, isn't it?
Yes, that's a 1957 pickup painted in that fashion for the Golden Jubilee to honor the 50th anniversary of the IH truck division in 1957.
So Randy, that particular gold paint, that Gold Demonstrator, you were telling me has only been used by IH, was used 3 times?
Yes, the IH Gold was used in a promotion 3 different times. The first one was in 1957 with the pickup for the golden anniversary. The second time was in 1960 when they had trouble with the 560s. They came with a golden plow promotion to build confidence back in the 560 tractor. They would actually give you the plow if you bought a new 560.
Wow.
So that was the second time they used the gold paint as a promotion.
Okay.
Then the third, of course, is the Gold Demonstrator tractor in 1970, which is totally unconnected to any of the other 2.
Wow.
But it's the third time they used the gold paint.
And over the years, I've been, doing my thing, and 13 years doing YouTube video. When I stumble into the Gold Demonstrators, there's a lot of passion, but there's also a lot of questions about them. And Randy, you actually did a YouTube video that's been out for a couple years now. Here's a picture of it on a setup here, folks. But if they go to YouTube, Randy, and type in IH Gold Demonstrator Tractor.
Yes, type in on YouTube, IH Gold Demonstrator Tractor. And we try to educate, try to let people know what was the Gold Demonstrator tractor all about? Why did they even have it?
Right.
So that's what we try to do with the first part of the video. And then the rest is, we appreciate our heritage.
Right.
And it's a small town, small farm America, and that got us here. So that's what the video is about.
Right, and we're going to go in and look at the collection here shortly. But Terry, now it's a husband and wife connection. When you get into these collections, you've been on board with amassing this collection over the years, and
Yes, I have.
okay.
Yep.
But you grew up driving a John Deere tractor.
Yes, I was my dad's helper, and my dad had John Deere's. Yes.
Okay,
From the trailer.
but
Yep,
love conquers all here, Red.
I guess.
That's awesome. And you guys grew up in South Dakota, right?
Yes, southeastern South Dakota, corn and beans, alfalfa, milking cows, feeding cattle, that type of farm.
And tell the story now. How did you wind up here in Pine Island, Minnesota, southeast part of the state?
Well, 1980s were high interest rates, and we were young farmers and had a lot of debt, and interest rates were saying, maybe there's something else you should be doing.
Sure.
And we had a friend that was a Surge dealer, and he put us in contact with the Surge Dairy Equipment Company.
Sure.
A Surge dealer was for sale at that time in Pine Island, Minnesota, which we had no idea where it was.
Okay.
But a short time later, we made a deal. We became Surge dealers, and we were Surge dealers in Pine Island then for 20 years.
20 years. And after that, you've been trucking.
Yes, we had the opportunity to sell to dealerships that were getting bigger.
Sure.
And we either had to get bigger with them or get out, and our kids were out of the house. So we made the decision to sell the dealership. Terry stayed with it. I like to say we sold the dealership but rented her with it. So she stayed with it. I bought a truck and I went trucking for the last 18, 19 years.
18 years.
Just recently retired.
And Terry, now to what extent would this, Randy was, I think he was kidding when he told me before, but he was doing the trucking to build the collection?
Yes.
There's some truth to that?
Yeah, I believe there is.
Okay, okay, very cool. Well, again, here is the pickup, and you guys actually had your collection of Gold Demonstrators and the pickup at Red Plow Roundup when it was in Huron?
Yes, in Huron, South Dakota in 2020.
2020.
Which we tried to make a big splash of our display because it was the 50th anniversary of the
Right.
1970 promotion.
Right.
So we thought it was fitting to go out as a big a display
Yeah.
as we could get.
Very cool. And were you getting a lot of, I bet you got a lot of interest there from even the IH folks about your extensive collection there at honoring, like you say, the 50 years of the Demonstrator going back to 1970.
It went over well. We had a lot of nice comments, and we felt it was well worth it. Yes,
Yeah.
it was fun.
That's the Minnesota way of saying that people were interested.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
very cool. Well, can we go look at your guys'
Sure.
collection?
We'd love to show you.
Okay, awesome. And Terry, love the IH sweatshirt.
Thank
Fancy.
you.
You fully converted from John Deere over to IH.
Yes, yes,
Awesome,
fully
awesome,
converted.
awesome. Well, get ready, folks, for an amazing visual here. Now, Randy,
Yes.
how many models of Gold Demonstrators are there total?
They made the Gold Demonstrators in 5 models. The biggest, of course, was the 1456. The 1026 was with hydro only. They made the 826 available in the Gold Demonstrator, but they made that available in the gear drive and in the hydro. And then the 2 smaller ones were the 656 and the 544. Both, again, in the hydro version. Those 2 were only available in the hydro. But they made them in 3 versions. They made them in the farmall, the high utility, and the utility. So to fit the markets all across the country, there was Gold Demonstrators in all the versions. So our goal was to try to collect all the versions, not just each number.
All the versions. Well, let's step out into the middle here of the collection, folks, and we'll pan around. You can see that Randy and Terry were successful in amassing a complete line of Gold Demonstrators. So, I mean, Randy, I'm just going to pan around here, but this is amazing. You've got 4 544s.
Here we had the smallest one was the 544 utility,
Yep.
then the high utility,
Okay.
and the farmall model. So those are the 3 versions of the 544.
Okay.
Now we happen to have a diesel and gas both in the farmall version.
Okay.
It's not, they're virtually the same other than they were available in the gas
You
and
just
diesel.
wouldn't have felt right without one of the. You had to have gas and diesel.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, yeah. Besides,
Oh.
they're very rare. If you have the opportunity, you got to grab it.
Here we go, folks. These are the 4 544 Gold Demonstrators. Before we hop around here, Randy, just to pick your brain a little bit, these things, we look back and, 52 years ago, we maybe lose perspective, but it was a promotional tactic.
Strictly a total, just a sales promotion. That's all it was.
Okay.
Somebody came up with the idea of how are we going to get farmers using this hydro on their farms? Because they were slow adapting to the hydro. They didn't trust it.
Sure.
So they said, if we could come up with a demonstrator program and get them using them on their farms, we'll sell more tractors.
Okay.
So that was the main reason for the Gold Demo program. Let Jim, Bob, and Fred use it, and then get it back into the dealership, paint it red, because they probably don't like that gold paint, and sell it at a discount.
Well, isn't that interesting? Over the years, the number of these Gold Demonstrators that people have kind of stumbled across that were repainted, and that was just the common practice.
Most of them were repainted, and it was a company-directed thing to repaint them. Now, there were some that didn't get repainted.
Okay.
I can just imagine the dealer say, the farmer saying, you knock off $500, you don't have to repaint
yes.
mine. I'm guessing, I don't know.
I think I'm with you. I think that was that
Probably
was happening, right?
Yeah, because 4 of the ones we've got had never been repainted red. They were still in their original gold paint.
Okay.
What was left of it.
Right. And as we pan around here, now the beautiful, beautiful condition of these Gold Demonstrators. Randy, you have worked with our great friend Danny Anderson in Pine Island.
Yes, that's where I got my start with Danny, informing me of the program itself and helping me along the way, yes.
Okay. And folks, if you don't know Danny Anderson, otherwise known as Dirt Boys in the IH Red Roundup community, fantastic guy. We've got some videos. Just go type in Danny Anderson Machinery Pete. You'll see those. But the local guy here that has done your restoration, your painting work,
Yes.
unbelievably skilled. He's out of Lake City?
Lives by Lake City on a farm. He's converted an old dairy barn into a paint booth, and it's environmentally friendly, you know,
Yep.
to control humidity and all. But
Right.
Josh Olson is his name, and he's just gets better in time, you know, and he does very nice work.
Well, you can see Josh is very skilled. And before we go around tractor by tractor here, Randy, you were mentioning to me before when we were just chit-chatting here about, you know, your attention to detail, wanting these all to sync up, so to speak. Can you speak to that?
Yes, it's important to us to be consistent and to be detailed. We make sure we don't paint over the hoses, for example, or the extra wires.
Right.
But then we also go to extra detail like chroming. We make sure the levers have been re-chromed, and the grills didn't come chromed from the factory. We add chrome bolts and stainless steel bolts in the wheels. We don't want them to ever rust. We want them to stay looking the way they are.
Right.
And the other part is, if Josh or somebody comes up with a new idea of how we can make it look a little better,
Yep.
we go, oh my goodness, that's okay, but now we got to change them on all of them, because consistency is
Right.
is what we want our collection to stand
And
for.
how many Gold Demonstrators? We have 12?
We have 12 gold demos.
12. Okay. And I should take this opportunity to say, Randy, when we talked at the auction last year, you mentioned that you were going to be having a plow day,
Yes.
which was originally scheduled. You were hoping for this Saturday, April 30th, but Mother Nature hasn't been cooperating.
That's very true. It's been a late spring, and this rain is scheduled, and more wind and cold weather, so we're going to have to postpone it for a couple of weeks. But our
Okay.
goal is I want to have all our 12 gold demos plowing in the same field at the same time.
Wow.
We want to show that these tractors grew up working on
Right.
the farms, planting and plowing, and they may look nice now, but they're built to work, and we want to show that they still got it in.
Right. And are you looking at Saturday, May 21st, maybe,
Yes,
is the date?
May 21st is our target date. Again, weather
Okay.
permitting, but May 21st is our.
Okay. And for folks interested in coming out for that, is there a place or discussion group on Facebook or something they should check?
You can look on Chapter 15 of the IH chapter of Minnesota, and they'll have it posted if we're having it for sure. But
Okay.
else look up our name on Facebook and or Zumbro Valley Classic Iron. That's the name
Tractor
of our
club?
local tractor club. They'll have it also.
I'll try to touch base with you that week to confirm that it's looking like a go,
Yes.
so we can help get the word out. But yeah, folks, an opportunity, hopefully Saturday, May 21st, to see these 12 Gold Demonstrators out in the field plowing. So now, Randy, let's back up a little bit here. Now, you were busy. I mean, you were a surge dealer, you were a trucker, raising a family here. You and Terry, you have how many kids?
Four
kids,
children.
right? So you were busy.
Terry did a lot of the work.
Well, that's teamwork, right? Awesome. So the Gold Demonstrator thing, you kind of got intrigued. Was it back around 2010 or so?
Yes, around 2010, I started collecting utility tractors because that's what I grew up on.
Okay.
And after about the third one, Danny Anderson, of course, was saying, if you're going to collect these utilities, you really should get a gold utility.
Okay.
And I didn't even know about it till then.
Okay.
And he explained what he knew about the gold utilities. And so driving truck, you get a lot of time because you're waiting at docks and things like that.
Sure.
Well, I'm on my phone on the internet, and there's one for sale, or there's somebody that knows somebody.
Right.
That's how I found them all, virtually internet,
Okay.
and the community of people that collect them and stuff like that.
Right. Very cool. Well, now your 4 544 Gold Demonstrators. The farthest one down there. Tell us about that one. Where did you find it?
It came out of West Virginia. A guy in Indiana helped me find it.
Okay.
But it came out of West Virginia originally.
Okay.
Mechanically very sound. We just restored it. The second one,
The row crop.
the row crop utility, or what people would call high utility,
Yep.
that has a bit of a history, but it originated in Maine. And then an auctioneer, Tom Lehman in Pennsylvania had it, sold it to a guy, Bo Miller in Tennessee, and then he had it listed in Red Power magazine. That's how I found it.
Okay.
But to our knowledge, and I put it out there, that we think this is one of one, that this is the only Gold Demonstrator high utility 544 ever made.
Wow.
And nobody's ever come up and said, wait a minute, I know of another.
Okay.
So far, I'm confident it's one of one.
And Randy, how many Gold Demonstrators did IH make in 1970 total across all the models?
Basing it on a few things. There was about 15 to 1,600 dealers at that time. Now, by being a surge dealer, we know how not all dealers participate. They're independent dealers. So we're assuming about 1,000 dealers participated, which means there would be 1,000 gold demos made. But that was 50 years ago.
Right.
Some already hit the salvage yard. Some maybe haven't been found. So we can assume from that there's approximately 700 to 750 authentic gold demos available in all the models.
Wow. Okay. So how about the third 544 in line here?
That came from New York. I saw it on Craigslist and I made the deal, and that came sight unseen. Almost all of these I didn't see prior to. I saw pictures of.
Sure.
Then the gas, they came at the same time because I was looking for a year to find a 544 Farmall, and they both came up at the same time. So what do? You
buy them both.
You can't
That's what you do.
Take a chance. But as I find out, there's only about 8 544 Farmall gold demos out there. That's how limited these small numbers. The small tractors are very limited on their numbers.
They made more of like the 826s,
Yes.
1026s.
The bigger tractors
Okay.
in the row crop, that's what was the market for.
Okay. Where did the one on the right?
The gas originally was found in the salvage yard in Salem, South Dakota,
Oh,
and bought
well,
by
that has roots. You're from South
yes,
Dakota, you and
it's only
Terry?
20 miles from where we live.
Really?
So
Wow.
it kind of has some sentimental value.
Who was the IH dealer when you grew up around Colton, South Dakota?
There was
by the
one
way?
in Madison.
You remember the name?
I can't think of it. Then there's also Sioux International in Sioux Falls. So
Okay.
we lived about halfway
Sure.
between the two.
Okay. Well, now next to the 544s, then we have a set of 3 656 Gold Demonstrators.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about these beauties,
Let's
Randy?
start with the utility over here.
Okay.
We bought that out of North Dakota, but I know it just sat in a Quonset building up in North Dakota for many years. It still had the original dealer sticker on it, which was out of Split Rock, Pennsylvania. So
Really?
how it got to North Dakota, I'm not sure.
Wow.
But it was sold originally in Split Rock, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
And that one also is, as far as we know, it's the only diesel utility gold demonstrator that's been able to find. There's 5 or 6 gas utility, but we've only been able to find the one diesel.
Okay.
This row crop, Bob Zarcy out of Indiana had it, but he had all the paperwork of it came through Pennsylvania out of North Carolina. So Ethan Lilly sent me information of this tractor was sold originally, and it's only one of 3 that we know of the high utility gold demonstrators, but it was sold on a tobacco farm out of North Carolina originally.
Really? Wow, that's cool.
So, but it came through Indiana, and so on 4th or 5th.
Okay.
It was in Red Power magazine, by the way, Bob's RC, and on calendars before too. So that one's had notoriety.
Okay.
The 656 Farmall was found by a friend of mine where we bought it from, but he saw it on a John Deere dealership yard that had been traded in, painted red, of course. But he noticed the black cowling.
It was
And
on
the
a Deere
original-
dealer lot.
The original owner either didn't know it, but he had traded it in. My friend drove by, saw that cowling, and made the deal. And the dealer asked him the next day. He said, "I've had so many calls. What's it about this?" So, well, then he told him what he had had.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of a good little synopsis of a vibe I've been picking up. I mean, we've had auctions for years where, and it's difficult. I mean, people don't know the history on these things, and so many of them were all painted over.
Yep.
And maybe even people selling them didn't know they had a gold demonstrator. Now, our friend Danny Anderson, their Dirt Boys here in Pine Island, What'd you say you were telling me before, Andy? But he had a little secret for, was it? I suppose under the hood.
The paint, Danny, how he determined what color they should be, is he takes the hoods off and matched the color of the paint of underneath the hoods, which the underneath the hoods has never had the sunshine, so it shouldn't be faded.
Right.
Now it may be dirty, but it's not faded.
Yep.
Clean that off and now match that to something paint, and he matched it as close as can paint to that, and that's the color we paint our outside of our gold demos, is the same color that was on the inside of those hoods.
Okay.
That's how.
And again, if folks, if you don't know Danny has dug deep into IH history from every single angle, going back to the 70s into the 80s when the transition happened there. So Danny's a great guy, very authoritative figure. And now I'm going to spin around here, folks, and I tell you, I haven't showed you this yet, but you want a treat right here? How about this? 1456 front wheel Gold Demonstrator 1970. Wow. What's the story on this one, Randy?
I knew of this tractor in Michigan. Again, this friend in Michigan, that he had it, and he had it for 20 plus years, and it just sat and maybe made a few parades. But,
Sure.
But it wasn't restored or anything. But it originally started in the wheat fields of Colorado, and then it got sold to a guy in Kansas, a collector. And Dale Smith used to own OEM tractor parts and died in a tractor accident. But he had made the connection of buying that tractor and selling it to my friend in Michigan, where it's, like I said, it sat for 20 plus years. I knew of it for a few years already, but we finally got around to, now's the time to make the deal. And we brought her home, and it's kind of the highlight of our group here.
Well, I got to tell you, Randy, it looks pretty good here in Minnesota.
Well, thank you.
I'm sure it looks wonderful in Michigan too, but wow, what a beauty.
That front end, though, I got to tell you, I've always heard the story, if you own an 80 acres and you have this tractor, you got to buy another 40 just to turn it around.
Well,
it's kind of true. It turns very little.
Okay, well, we all have things that are unique, but now we were chit-chatting about this tractor before we started filming here, Randy, and what was it up there? Was it a dealer sticker on this tractor or something?
Oh, yes. Want me to show you?
Yeah, let's go take a look.
Okay. You engage or disengage this front end by this lever.
Yep.
And there's a sticker on the dash up here that tells you up is engaged or down is engaged, whichever. And we had found underneath the paint, it had been painted over the original sticker. And so we assumed because
this was front end from the factory?
Yes, we assume it was installed at the factory, because else why would that sticker be on there? Now we reproduced the sticker and put it over top now, but the original sticker was still underneath the paint. We had to, we scraped it off to read it and all that.
A little bit of telltale bits of history there.
Yeah, that's how we try to find it.
Yeah, we got to back up and look at this thing again. At 1456 front wheel, that is just beyond beautiful, Randy. And right next to it, another 1456 Farmall here. Where did this one come from?
This came from Michigan, the same guy that I got this one from.
Okay.
They both came from the same place.
Wow.
They had been using that one on their farm a little bit, but also in some tractor pulls.
Sure.
So it ran very well. And that was a good, solid tractor.
And then if we move on down the line, you have a 1026.
1026 came, that's the only one I bought within Minnesota.
Okay.
And wouldn't you know it, that one's probably been the most costly. First the hydro was out, and then it dropped a cylinder, so we had to rebuild the engine completely.
Where in Minnesota was it?
Keister, which the dealership isn't there
Keister.
anymore. Yeah, you may be familiar.
Oh, we know Keister, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's good. Good folks there in Keister.
Now,
Awesome.
I don't know the roots of that particular tractor very well. That dealer claimed he did an equipment exchange with somebody in New York.
Okay.
So I'm assuming that came from New York.
Okay.
But I know the detailed history of many of them, but that one I don't know any more than back to.
Wasn't one of your 554s? Maybe I already asked you this. I apologize, but wasn't it from Maine?
Yes, that high utility is originated in Maine.
So now we've got Maine, we got North Carolina tobacco fields, we've
West
got
Virginia.
West Virginia, New York, Michigan.
Yes.
All right, and then we have a pair of 826s down here. Again, the two
Yes.
versions here.
Again, the gear drive. Half of the Gold Demonstrators out there are 826 gear drives.
Half of the 750-ish?
Half of the 750 or approximately.
Yep.
And the reason is, I'm sure, is the biggest majority of the tractors built were for row crop farmers,
Sure.
corn and beans. And again, these were independent dealers. They were spending their money. The cheapest way they could keep the company off their back to participate in the Gold Demo program was to buy an 826 gear drive. That was the least cost way they could make everybody happy.
And your experience being a dealer for Surge for decades, you know that,
You're
again,
pressured.
we look at some of these things and we think, oh, what a cool promotion back in the day, but it was probably a pain in the butt if you were a dealer back in the day to have to
Because you
deal.
don't know how it's going to turn out. you
Right,
know,
right.
And you're pressured to put your money into their idea.
Right, interesting. And again, the thought is that a lot of these, they took them in, they showed them around, and then just boom, painted them red so they could sell them.
Mhm.
Or
And they weren't that popular up until the last 20 years.
Right.
You know, they weren't. Gold didn't mean anything to most
Right.
people.
Well, it does now.
Yes.
And you were ahead of the curve there on that one, Randy. Now, how about the last 826 in the
The
line
last
here?
one originated in Michigan. The guy in Indiana bought it, Max Favorite, and then he owned a couple of international dealerships. And then when he retired to Florida and took the tractors with him.
Okay.
And if you remember, Max Favorite had this enclosed semi where he had it turned into a museum. Well, this was one of his tractors.
Okay.
We bought it from Max, and there's not a lot of the 826 hydros out there. We're assuming approximately 50.
Okay.
So they're much more rare than the gear drive. But that came from Max out of Florida, and he had a narrow front on it. We changed to a wide front to
Okay.
be consistent again with all the rest of ours.
Okay. So again, we have 12 Gold Demonstrators. You have every version.
Yes, to a point.
To a point?
For example, there's a high crop, which a 1026 that Stu Paquette, who's
Sure.
no longer with us,
Right.
has it down in Florida.
Okay.
And there's some standards or Wheatland
Okay.
826s out there, maybe a 1026. So I don't have them, but they have the same chassis, the engine, transmission as these tractors.
Right.
They're just a little different
I
model.
got to ask you, Randy, are you hoping to acquire as we go forward?
I don't work anymore, so
You
know,
come
the
work
in-
for Machinery Pete. We'll
The
be all-
income stream stops. So.
There you go.
Yeah.
Awesome. And by the way, you got to pan up and see your great post or banner there. Was that for Red Paw Roundup? Or is that-
Actually, it was just an idea we had, and we thought it was a good idea.
Bringing the joy and pride of the past for the future to understand and appreciate. No, that's a good point, Randy. I mean, in your YouTube video, you are, I can just tell you're motivated to share the history and knowledge of these Gold Demonstrators. What kind of feedback have you got off your YouTube video?
A lot of positives. You know, they like the red, white, and blue aspect of
Yep.
it. You know, the pride in the country.
Right.
You know, but we grew up in a time of small farm, small town America, and it's going away, and this brings it back.
Yeah, it does. Now, folks, as amazing as this collection is, and again, we're hoping Saturday, May 21st, to see these Gold Demonstrators out in the field with the plow day, but we have more tractors around the corner, don't we?
Yes, we do.
Can we go check them out?
You're welcome.
All right. Now, these utility tractors we're going to go look at here. This is kind of how you got your start with collecting, right, Randy?
Yes, we started with utilities simply because that's what I started driving on as a 6-year-old.
Okay. What was the first model that you drove
A 300 utility.
on your farm near Colton, South Dakota?
Yes, Dad would let me drive it through the gates.
Okay.
So that's that's where we started. I would mow hay, rake hay with the utility, and you'd feel it was your tractor. You know, so we started with the utilities, and
When did you start collecting these utilities?
probably 2007 or 2008, somewhere in
Okay,
that
so
range.
you were trucking then, you were not a surge dealer.
Correct. We
Okay.
were already trucking, and,
Okay.
and the guys in town here, they had this tractor club and tractor drive every summer, and they were telling me what a great time it was. So,
Yeah?
so
You were
that's
motivated to join them?
Motivated to start, yeah.
Nice.
That's-
What do the guys think of your collection these days?
Well, I think they believe it's all right, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome.
A hidden jewel or
That
whatever you want
is
to call it. yeah.
awesome. So how many different models do we have here with the utilities, Randy?
Well, the 300, then the 350, and the 330 is a story all by itself because it was made to compete with the Ford 8N. You know, it's shorter than the 350, and it was built later than the 350. So they actually made a smaller tractor just
Okay.
to compete with the 8N.
Sure.
And then the 475 is an English-made tractor.
Yeah, let's go get a little better look at that one.
That was brought over supposedly in one shipment, and they brought them in through the Louisiana. That's where you find them in this area. Now there's more in Canada and more in Europe. They're not real rare.
That one has a Perkins?
It's a Perkins diesel. It's, as far as we know, it's the only Perkins diesel that's put into an IH tractor. They were made to compete with the Massey Ferguson that was eating their lunch in utility tractors. at that
Dominant
time.
over there in
Yes.
Europe, right? And where did you get that one? Was that from Minnesota?
No, that came from Missouri. It was on an eBay auction. That's JP Tractors had it on, on an eBay auction, and it was really cheap, but it was in really tough shape. So
Yeah.
we had to do
A lot of work, right? And that does take a vision. What does it feel like to you personally, Randy, when you acquire a tractor like that and it's kind of beat up and seen better days, and you make it,
Well,
bring it back to look like that?
You know, the big rush is when you pick it up and it's all done. You know, you see the progress along the way, but
Yeah.
when it's all done, you know, that paint is bright and shiny, and
Right.
it's a rush.
And again, it's Josh Olson.
Yes, who's painting them now? Yes,
Is he EN or ON?
I think it's ON. Honestly,
Okay,
I'm not
well,
sure.
I'm an ON Peterson, so that's double bonus points for Josh in Lake City. Way to go. Now, how about the 2444 over there?
That came out of Pennsylvania. That was another auction. Honestly, I thought it was so inexpensive. I thought, wow,
You can't
I
go
was
wrong.
sitting in the truck too long. You know, you watch these auctions and
Yeah.
well, it's got to bring more than that. I'll be safe bidding this
Yeah.
much. Well, then I got it. You
And
know.
what condition was it in?
It was straight, but it needed paint and,
Yeah.
and tires and everything. It
Okay.
runs nice. It's a neat little story. We have our tractor drive. A lot of our kids come home from the tractor. We'll have 6 or 8 tractors. And my daughter-in-law put her fiance on that
Okay.
tractor the first time to meet us and all that. And at the end of the thing, she said, "Well, you realize that was the oh, no, I can't say it.
You put the son-in-law
Training car. You know what was?
Yeah, that's awesome. How did he make out driving it?
Oh, he did well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Is he a
did
farm
well.
boy?
No, he wasn't.
Okay. But he handled the 2444 utility. That's
Now, I
awesome.
don't think you noticed the Wheatland tractors back here, the 350 and the 460.
Those are both okay.
Utility Wheatland tractors, they only made 160 of each of them.
Wow.
And they were real special up there. They both were
That's a
Canada-
460 in the back?
Yes, Canadian
Okay.
tractors. Yes.
Okay. And I got a pan up here, the tillage.
Fast hitch.
And you grew up fast hitch.
Yes, Dad had fast hitch equipment, so
Okay.
if I get a chance, I'll add some fast hitch equipment.
Okay. And if I pan around here, folks, and look up, there is the Gold Plow. And you, again, this was one of the 3 instances, Randy?
Yes, the 1960 promotion to promote the reliability of the 560. They had a Gold Plow promotion.
They were giving you the plow.
That's the way I understand it. Yes.
Wow. And how many of those have you seen around? I myself have not.
Very few 5s.
Okay.
There's 3s and 4s around.
That are gold?
Yes,
Okay.
but it's all faded so much it's hard to see. But
Okay.
there are very few 5s because the 560 wasn't that big.
Right. Then if I pan this way, folks, you see some more tillage here, beautifully restored. Is that Josh doing this work again for you?
Yeah.
Wow.
I usually tear it all apart and then he paints it and I put it back.
And have you, in some of the tractor rides or parades that you do you put the implements behind the
Yeah.
tractors?
People like to see the implements.
Yeah.
There's not much money in them, but they're.
Yeah.
So, for example, the last show we went to, we took 3 utilities and with the mowers and the hay. We had the hay equipment behind
Okay.
the utilities.
And if I turn around here, well, little conditioner over there.
Yeah.
We'll go give you a better look at it here, folks. Because it's not every day you see a reconditioned conditioner like this. How old do you figure this is, Randy?
I'm guessing the mid-60s, early to mid-60s. I'm not certain.
Oh, that's cool. 50 plus years old and get her looking like new. Again, here's the plow, and then this rake. Beautiful. What model is this thing?
It's a model number 11. It's a fast hitch,
Fast
takeoff
hitch.
driven side rake.
Okay, I'll back up and get a little better view for people here. You had that for quite a while, Andy?
I've had that, I don't know, 6-8 years, something like that.
Okay.
It wasn't looking like that when we got it. I put new teeth on it and
Okay.
we repainted it all, but
Okay, now you stay there, and I gotta spin around here now. Your trucking days, we have quite a beautiful rig here. Is this an 06 Peterbilt?
yes, I had an 06 when I drove truck for 18 years.
Okay.
I put $1,900,000 on
Yeah.
my original Pete.
Okay.
And but it was wore out. We sold that and bought this recently just to pull our tractors around to the different shows
Sure.
and things like that. So
And did it have that beautiful gold coloring when you bought it?
yes, I found that on the internet in that color, and I thought, oh,
That was destiny.
that means something special. So
That was destiny. Yeah, that's beautiful. And your 664 here, I guess we walked right past it, but
yes, that's a little bit limited version. They only made about 900 of those.
okay.
And it was kind of a stopgap between the transmission of the 5-speed to the other transmission they now have with the high-low range and the 4-speed behind it. So they didn't make a lot of them, but they were a handy little truck.
Okay.
That came out of Alabama.
Alabama, man, we are checking the boxes here. Well, just talk about, Randy, I mean, just the fun, the hunt, as you build your collection of utilities here, like a 300 here, you grew up driving that when you were 6 years old, not this tractor, but this model.
Yes, yes.
Just, man, it has to have been a fun ride to acquire these babies over the years.
It has. For example, the 300 and the 350 I brought home at the same time as a little story. It was a cold winter night. It was extremely cold, and I picked them up in one in New York, one in Michigan, and I took them home in my truck. I had a reefer trailer.
Okay.
Well, I didn't want to get home, and it was like 20 below that trip home. And I didn't want to question if they'd start or anything because I had to go the next Monday.
Right.
And so I left the reefer run at 50 degrees. I mean, they had a neat ride all the way home.
Welcome back to Minnesota. I
Yeah,
love
50
it.
degrees, and they've started right up. So
They were getting spoiled there. Right? This is a 55 model. Yeah, it's just a beautiful little tractor there. And I mean, when you look at that, and you said you were 6 years old driving a 300 growing up. I mean, what do you remember about growing up on the farm there near Colton, South Dakota?
well,
Randy?
life was good. You know, as far as a kid, you think life is normal. Like,
Yep.
you know, I'm sure Dad didn't have things that people have today, but
Yeah.
we didn't know no better.
How many cows did you have
We
on the
had
farm?
community. You know, Dad milked 60 at the time.
Okay.
So
Gotcha.
it was a dairy farm.
Yep.
And corn and beans and alfalfa through a lot of bales. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, community is kind of the whole thing, isn't it? Are you, have you transitioned, now you've been in Minnesota here, Southeast for almost 30 years.
30 plus. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we can claim you as a Minnesotan.
All right,
Oh,
that's good.
that's good. You raised your family here, I suppose.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, the interesting thing is, you know, I still hear at coffee time, well, you're not from here. You know.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, you still have.
Oh.
Yeah, the key is if you went to wherever you went to high school.
Okay.
You know, if you went to high school here, you're
Yeah,
in.
well, that's one thing. As a native Minnesotan, we are a fairly provincial. I don't know if we get that from our Scandinavian
Yeah,
roots or whatever,
but
but
it's
we're
all-
glad you came over.
But it's all right.
And
We
it-
get along anyway. Yeah.
Randy, again, I'm so glad and just honored we got connected at the auction, and thank you for telling me about your collection and inviting us in. And again, we hope Mother Nature cooperates. Saturday, May 21st, and you're going to have all of those Gold Demonstrators out.
That's the plan. And we're going to serve hot dogs and have a sound system to explain the significance of each one.
Okay.
And but it takes a lot of help. You know, I got guys that will help me, because we had 12 tractor drivers at the same
Right.
time. So
Did you find your buddies around town here?
buddies around town, my kids are coming home.
Okay.
So we're going to try and make it a big deal.
Okay. Well, I think I might be on the road that day. I'm not quite sure, Randy, but if I'm at all possible, I want to be there. But if I can't, would you have anyone with a free hand that would give me a little video clip of
I bet we could find somebody.
that
else.
would be
Mhm.
just fantastic. And again, tell folks where they can look for information about that Plow Day, May 21st.
Yes, if you go to Facebook or the website of the IH Chapter 15, the Minnesota chapter, I'm sure you'll be able to find
Chapter
it there.
15, Minnesota.
Or the Zumbro Valley Classic Iron, the guy will be putting it on Facebook there also.
Okay. And folks, please go check out Randy's current video out on YouTube. Type in IH Gold Demonstrator Tractor, and you go pretty deep on, even deeper on some of the history.
We try to explain what the program was all about
Yeah.
and how it came to be, and why did they even have it.
Yeah.
That's what we try to explain.
Well, Randy, I thank you for your efforts and your passion you put towards that, taking away what I've noticed over the decades, just the question marks and kind of the squints, like, I think I kind of know about Gold Demonstrator, but it's been fascinating to get more history from you. And again, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and your beautiful collection.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate you coming out.
Your next piece of equipment is on MachineryPete.com. Search equipment from dealerships across the country to find what you're looking for. Only on MachineryPete.com.